Today, we'll delve into the events that occurred in Oregon, United States. At approximately 5 p.m. on August 19, 2014, the emergency services of the city of Portland received a call from a man who informed the operator about a woman stabbed in the chest. The victim was still alive, but it was difficult for her to breathe, so the eyewitness asked to send an ambulance to the Timber Creek apartments as soon as possible. When police officers were on their way to the scene, they could not imagine that the key to solving this case would be the last words of the victim, who, as it later turned out, was Nicole Lobb. When the paramedics arrived at the crime scene, the couple living there was trying to help Nicole. Unfortunately, despite all the efforts of the paramedics, she died. But before she died, she said something important. When detectives spoke to the man who called 911, he told them about what had happened in more detail. The man said he heard a scream when he and his wife were walking down the stairs of the apartment building towards the parking lot. He looked to his right and saw a woman running towards them and saying, "He stabbed me, he stabbed me." She told the couple that she did not know the attacker, but that he was wearing camo pants and a black hoodie. The manager of the Timber Creek Apartments identified the victim as his colleague, 29-year-old Nicole Lobb, who had been working there as a leasing consultant for a few weeks. As part of her duties on August 19th, she had been driving a golf cart around the complex to deliver lease renewal letters. Along with each letter, Nicole had been delivering a balloon tied to a popcorn package for each applicable resident. As she made the deliveries, Nicole marked each apartment on a map stored in the golf cart. Based on Nicole's notations and the map at the time when the apartment residents heard Nicole screaming, detectives determined that the attack likely occurred in a specific stairwell breezeway at Timber Creek. Since the attack took place there, the one who injured her was probably waiting for her under the stairs. Further indicators included a trail of blood drops coming from the stairwell, as well as leaflets scattered at the foot of the stairs. During the investigation by the Washington County Sheriff's Office, several witnesses reported seeing a suspicious young male dressed in some form of black hoodie and camel pants in the vicinity of Timber Creek around the time of the attack. Combining the reports and timelines of each sighting, detectives deduced the path that the suspect took into and out of Timber Creek. More than 20 law enforcement officers, assisted by K-9, participated in this intensive work. The Washington County Search and Rescue Team examined the woodlands along Cedar Mill Creek, which runs through the Commons apartment complex in Timber Creek. During this search, they found some items and sent them to the laboratory to determine if they had any evidentiary value. The detectives did not disclose what exactly they had discovered. However, according to them, they were investigating every possible scenario. Investigators were trying to figure out what could have caused such an attack, carried out in broad daylight on the territory of an apartment complex with more than 1,000 residents. They contacted Nicole's husband, Chris Lobb, and informed him of the incident. When Nicole met Chris, she already had a daughter. Chris had 2 daughters from previous relationships, and when he and Nicole got married, they had a son together. As a teenager, Nicole was able to beat cancer, after which she became interested in fitness and bodybuilding. She participated in competitions and dreamed of becoming a coach one day, but who would have thought that her life would end so suddenly? While her family was trying to cope with the grief that had befallen them, the police took some steps to identify the perpetrator. It wasn't a robbery, and the perpetrator did not try to take off any of her clothes. It could mean that the motive for the attack on her could be personal reasons. This assumption prompted detectives to look closely at her husband, Chris.
As William Penn once wrote, "They that love beyond the world cannot be separated by it. Death cannot kill what never dies." Nicole was a beautiful woman, loving wife, amazing mother, and a friend to all. She was not afraid to share her faith or her opinion with anyone. Her goal was to make sure that she left this world a better place. And I look to her right now and tell her, you've succeeded. You've touched everyone in this room in more ways than you'll ever know. On August 28th, 2010, many of you were with me when I stood before the Lord and said my vows to Nicole. Today, August 28th, 2014. You're all with me while I celebrate my 4th anniversary. Happy anniversary, babe. I love you, I miss you, and I'll always be thankful for the time we had together.
Chris cooperated with the investigation and answered all questions regarding his and Nicole's 4-year marriage. It turned out that when the crime occurred, he was in kindergarten to pick up his son. Therefore, Chris couldn't have been the one who attacked Nicole. Meanwhile, while interviewing residents of the Timber Creek apartments, the police found 2 more witnesses who saw a man in a black hoodie and camo pants. The couple witnessed a man who matched the description of the criminal running across the road, not looking around. It was around the same time that the attack on Nicole took place. They saw the man with a hood over his head running towards the houses across the street from the Timber Creek apartments. Working with witnesses, detectives published a sketch of the suspect and quickly had it distributed far and wide throughout the city. The sketch also appeared in news shows on television. The city authorities asked anyone who knew a person with at least slightly familiar facial features to report it. Detectives also worked with their informants, hoping they could provide any leads about the whereabouts of the murderer. The suspect's sketch brought several clues. The first one came from a man who said his son was friends with a guy named Taylor. According to the man who called, Taylor has been threatening people with a knife in the last few weeks. The police found the man and brought him in for questioning. Taylor said some strange things to the investigators, and the latter got the impression that he might be suffering from a mental illness. When asked what he knew about Nicole Lobb, he replied without hesitation that he was the one who took her life. However, Taylor's story was inconsistent. He said the things everyone knew from the news and came up with details unrelated to the case. As a result, the police excluded him from the list of suspects. After the suspect's sketch appeared in the news, the police received another clue, this one about a man named Nick who had a criminal past. Nick vaguely resembled the suspect depicted in the sketch. However, he had never done anything like what had happened to Nicole. He had previously had problems with the law, but he has never physically harmed other people. The police brought Nick in for questioning, and his behavior caused alarm. When asked about Nicole and the crime, he denied having anything to do with it and demanded a lawyer. After that, the police obtained a search warrant for Nick's house. They found a black hoodie and camo pants there, but this hoodie did not match the witness's description. It had a bright white logo on the front side. They sent Nick's clothes to the lab for analysis, but experts did not find anything on them that could link him to the crime. The police also obtained Nick's mobile phone records, which proved he wasn't even near the crime scene when the attack on Nicole took place. Thus, the police excluded Nick from the list of suspects, and the case reached a dead end with nowhere to go. It was a difficult period for Nicole's family. Speaking to reporters, Chris Lobb said he couldn't think about anything other than what had happened to Nicole. The hard part is there's so many unanswered questions. My head is constantly going through what happened, different scenarios, and you just don't have answers for it, Chris said. The police feared the perpetrator would strike again, and they were right. On September 13, 2014, 3 weeks after Nicole's death, the Eugene Police Department received a disturbing call. Eugene is the second largest city in Oregon, about 100 miles from Portland. On September 13th, one of the residents was attacked as they were leaving a bar near Autzen Stadium. 39-year-old Heather Mueller went to one of the bars near the stadium to watch the game. At about 8 p.m., when the game had ended, Heather decided to go home. There were almost no people in the street. She left the bar and was about to call a cab, but discovered her phone was dead. Then she decided to go closer to the stadium to try and catch a taxi. Walking along the sidewalk, she soon noticed that someone was walking behind her. Crossing to the other side of the street and turning around, she saw that the man following her had done the same. She quickened her pace, but soon felt a blow to the back of her head, which knocked her unconscious. When she regained consciousness, she found herself face to face with the criminal, who by this time had pulled off her pants in an effort to fulfill what was most likely the motive for the attack. Heather tried to reason with him. She told him she had a daughter. "I asked him to please let me see my daughter again, but he kept punching me regardless," Heather said. For every word she uttered, she received a punch in the face. At some point, Heather realized that her only chance to survive was to pretend to be dead. She closed her eyes and didn't move. When the attacker got what he wanted, he immediately ran away. This man severely beat Heather, but she found the strength to stand up and walk out into the middle of the road. A minute later, a car stopped and the driver called 911. Paramedics soon arrived and took her to the hospital. She was conscious and was able to talk to a detective who arrived soon after. At that time, neither she nor the detective knew that the one who attacked her was already at the police station. There's a park near the stadium where the man attacked Heather. A policeman on a bicycle was on duty there that evening. He saw a man running away, stopped him, and noticed that his hands and shoes were bloody. The officer detained him and called a patrol car, which took the detainee to the police station. Despite his age, 17-year-old Jamie Tinoco has repeatedly come to the attention of the police. At the time of his arrest, he was on probation for unlawful possession. Tinoco started using substances at the age of 12, and according to his parents, they could not control him. He dropped out of high school when he was a freshman, and just a day before the attack on Heather Mueller, he was arrested for driving without a driver's license but was soon released. During interrogation, Tinoco confessed to attacking Heather Mueller. The guy behaved absolutely calmly and indifferently because he had believed he'd done nothing wrong. His behavior gave the Eugene Police Department reason to assume that Heather was not his first victim. The police released his photo, thinking that there might be other women affected by his actions who would come forward. Soon after, the detectives investigating the death of Nicole Lobb saw Tinoco's photo released by Eugene Police. They believed that Tinoco had similar facial features to the sketch of the suspect that they had. As it turned out, Tinoco lived with his parents in Portland, and their apartment was across the street from Timber Creek. This gave even more reason to believe that he might be the one who took Nicole Lobb's life. The detectives questioned Jamie about Nicole's case, hoping he would confess to assaulting her, just as he had confessed to what he had done to Heather Mueller. Yet Tinoco stated that he was not involved in Nicole's death and refused to answer their questions. The police had to look for evidence to link him to Nicole Lobb's death. As previously stated, Jamie Tinoco lived with his parents across the street from the Timber Creek apartment complex, so the police obtained a search warrant for his parents' apartment. They found a black hoodie and camo pants in Jamie's room and sent them to the laboratory for analysis. However, the lab report disappointed everyone. There was no DNA from Nicole on any of Tinoco's belongings, and it seemed that the investigation had reached a dead end again. While there was no evidence yet to prove Tinoco was the one who took Nicole's life, there was more than enough evidence linking him to the attack on Heather Mueller, and he didn't deny what he had done. Moreover, he was somewhat proud of this act, posing as a kind of juvenile gangster. During the trial related to the attack on Heather Mueller, he smiled and made it clear that he did not regret what he had done. Tinoco had separated from a group of youth offenders on a trip to the game supervised by the Washington County Juvenile Department. The teen followed Heather, knocked her out from behind, and then dragged her to the bushes near Autzen Stadium. Mueller says that she still has nightmares, flashbacks, and a chipped front tooth from the attack. She had to find a new job and is still uncomfortable when people walk behind her or when she walks along a street, especially at night. Her broken nose and other injuries sustained in the attack required reconstructive surgery to repair. "Not a day goes by that what happened to me does not come across my mind," she said in Lane County Circuit Court. "Above all else, I pray Mr. Tinoco never has the opportunity to do this to anyone else and affect their lives the way he has affected mine." Heather Mueller clutched two family members' hands as she sat with more than a dozen supporters before reading her statement aloud.
That's right, Stephanie. Tinoco appeared to be grinning in court as the victim stood recalling the disturbing details of her attack, how she begged for her life to see her daughter again. When the judge asked Tinoco why he was grinning, he said he didn't know. The judge said the fact that he showed no remorse scared her. She called Tinoco a danger to the public and imposed a maximum sentence.
It was very disrespectful and shows no remorse, and justifies the judge's sentence upon him.
The victim walked out of the courtroom surrounded by her friends and family. The brave mother of two told the judge she prayed Tinoco never had the opportunity to do this to anyone else.
She didn't want to play the victim. She didn't want to let him think that he's beaten her down and she can't get back up. And so she was very strong from the beginning. For sure she was going to read that statement and be heard.
Despite the defense's attempt to portray Tinoco as a teen affected by years of substance abuse, the judge said his demeanor in the courtroom said a lot about his character.
Tinoco's attorney, Chris Schaffner, had urged the judge to give her client a sentence of 8 years and 4 months in prison. Schaffner added that such a situation should never have happened, and that he knew Tinoco would have said he was sorry for what he had done if the judge had asked him about it. Yet, Tinoco, whose parents were sitting 3 rows behind him in tears, did not apologize when the judge allowed him to speak. He declined to give any statement. Judge Deborah Vogt sentenced Tinoco to 14 years and 2 months in prison. She said his apparent lack of remorse warranted the long sentence. The community needs to be protected from a dangerous man, she said. As much as people want me to see you as a boy today, I do not, Vogt said.
Now, by the time Tinoco is eligible to be released, he'll be in his early 30s and he'll have to register as a sex offender for the rest of his life. And as for the victim, her family tells me she's looking forward to starting a new job and finally being able to move on with her life.
Meanwhile, the investigators decided to use Tinoco's inflated sense of self-greatness to get him to confess. They questioned him again about Nicole Lobb's death. The detective told him that he would get much more respect in prison if other inmates found out that he was not just some pathetic criminal who attacked a woman from behind, but the one who took another woman's life. After a few minutes of silence, Tinoco started talking about Nicole, saying he didn't mean to do it. He stated that he wanted to stab someone just to find out what it would feel like. According to him, he didn't want to take Nicole's life. He said that he just wanted to hurt her. He said that when he crossed the street from his apartment to Timber Creek, he saw Nicole parking a golf cart and carrying a balloon and a small package to an apartment on the 2nd floor. When Nicole went up the stairs, he hid behind a golf cart, then ran to the stairs. And when Nicole came back down, he took a deep breath and stabbed her. Tinoco said he chose Nicole because she looked like easy prey. When asked if he had tried to force Nicole into intimacy as he did with Heather Mueller, he replied, "Oh, I was thinking about doing the same. I was going to do the same." He stated that he didn't do it only because Nicole screamed really loud when he stabbed her, so he ran away. During the crime's reenactment, Tinoco showed the investigators how he escaped from the crime scene. Chris Lobb said that he was shocked to learn that the man who took his wife's life was only 17 years old. "I have a 13-year-old daughter," he said. "To think he's 4 years older and can do this? It's mind-boggling. Unfathomable." The trial began in 2015. Despite confessing during the interrogation, Tinoco declared his innocence in court. His lawyer argued that there was no DNA evidence linking his client to the crime scene. "All I'm asking for is mercy for a 17-year-old child who is severely mentally ill, and for the possibility he could change his behavior with some treatment to fix this severely broken individual," said defense attorney Robert Axford. The defense's only witness was another psychologist who evaluated Tinoco and determined he exhibited symptoms of schizophrenia. The psychologist with the Oregon State Hospital said she examined Tinoco and found he had a personality disorder, not schizophrenia. A video recording of his confession and the investigative experiment in which Tinoco recreated his actions at the time of the crime convinced the jury of his guilt. During the crime reenactment, he described details that only the person who attacked Nicole Lobb could know about. In the penalty phase, the jury had 2 choices: life without the possibility of parole, or life with the possibility of parole after 30 years. The jury determined that there were insufficient mitigating circumstances to warrant a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 30 years. As a result, in 2017, Jamie Tinoco was found guilty on all counts. Tinoco, who was already 20 years old at the time, was standing at the front of a Washington County courtroom between his 2 attorneys as Circuit Judge Kirsten Thompson asked if he had any words before she officially sentenced him to life in prison without parole. He held his hands down below his waist in front of him, his mouth twitching. "I ask for forgiveness," Tinoco said. He then sat down. Chris Lobb, Nicole's husband, said Tinoco's family approached his family after the sentencing. They expressed condolences and apologized. But don't rush to turn off this video. It's not the end of the story. In 2021, the Oregon Court of Appeals overturned Tinoco's 2017 conviction. Juvenile laws have changed since Tinoco's trial, in which he was convicted of a Measure 11 crime. Under juvenile reforms, offenders between 15 and 17 years old are no longer automatically referred to adult court. The new law requires prosecutors to request a hearing to determine whether juveniles accused of the most serious crimes should be moved to adult court. If the case is retried and Tinoco is reconvicted, his defense could seek a lesser sentence. The decision to overturn the conviction shocked Nicole Lobb's family, as they did not expect it. Nicole's father, Rich Jones, said they would have to go through an emotional ordeal all over again. Thus, Tinoco is still in prison, but it's not the end of the Nicole Lobb case.